I'm Shannon.
I'm sitting in my wheelchair, looking out at the once familiar view from my Boston home. The house, which was once filled with the promise of a new beginning, now stands empty and quiet. It's hard to believe how far I've come, from the brink of a disastrous marriage to the hope of a new life. It all started when I was on the verge of marriage. I was set to marry Ryan, a man who seemed perfect on the surface. The wedding was planned to perfection, with every detail taken care of by top-notch professionals. But deep down, I felt a nagging unease. It wasn't the typical pre-wedding jitters. It was a persistent feeling that something was off. My father had instilled in me two important lessons. He was a self-made man who built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch. He always said that wealth brought comfort but also unwanted attention, and that trust, once given carelessly, could cost a fortune. He was a cautious man, never quick to trust, and his wisdom had shaped me into the person I was. My mother died when I was very young, so my memories of her were just fragments, a soft voice, the smell of her perfume. My father never remarried. He devoted all his time to me and his business. He involved me in every aspect of his life, teaching me about business, decision-making, and the importance of being discerning. After I graduated from high school with top honors, my father insisted that I study abroad. He believed it would provide a better education and keep me safe from those who might be interested in me for my wealth. I was reluctant to leave, but I knew he was right. When I returned to Boston as an adult, I was confident and capable. But my father's health was deteriorating. He was diagnosed with cancer, and though he tried to stay strong, I could see the fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for me. He started to ask me about Ryan, his background, and his intentions. He was worried that I might be too independent to see through false attentiveness. I met Ryan on an ordinary afternoon at a quiet cafe. We started chatting over a book he was reading, and the conversation flowed easily. He seemed genuine, not interested in my wealth. Our relationship developed naturally, and when he proposed, I accepted. I asked for 3 months to prepare, and he understood. Then, Ryan told me about his mother, Lily. She was deaf and mute due to a childhood illness, and they communicated through sign language. He asked if she could live with us after the wedding. I agreed, thinking it would be manageable. At first, things seemed fine. Lily was quiet and unobtrusive. But as the wedding drew closer, I started to feel left out. Ryan and Lily would have long conversations in sign language that I couldn't understand. When I asked about it, Ryan dismissed my concerns, saying it was just about her day. I began to suspect that something was wrong. I decided to learn sign language, not to confront them, but to understand what was going on. I found a retired sign language instructor, Mrs. Thompson, who lived nearby. Her house was warm and inviting, and her grandson, Jake, was a sweet 5-year-old boy. I started taking lessons with Mrs. Thompson in secret. As I learned, I also grew closer to her and Jake. Mrs. Thompson told me about her son, Mark, who had gone north to work and had disappeared. She still believed he was alive, and I respected her hope. One evening, I overheard Ryan and Lily signing. To my shock, I realized they were not mother and son but accomplices in a scheme to get my money. They were discussing my assets and how they would leave after the wedding. I was devastated but knew I couldn't confront them. I went to the police the next day. They had been tracking a group like this for a while, and Ryan and Lily fit the pattern. They were arrested 2 days later. After that, I visited Mrs.
Thompson.
She was looking pale and tired. I told her everything that had happened. A few days later, she passed away due to an undetected illness. Jake was left alone, and I felt an obligation to take care of him. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my company started to falter. I discovered that my deputy, Mr. Harris, who I had trusted for years, was redirecting funds and leaking information to competitors. On my way to confront him, I was in a car accident that left me paralyzed from the waist down. I was filled with despair. I thought about giving up, but then Mark, Mrs. Thompson's son, showed up. He explained that he had been in a remote area, injured and isolated, and had lost contact. He didn't ask for anything, just to see his son. Mark encouraged me not to give up. He told me about his own struggle to survive and how he kept going. His words made me realize that I had to try. I decided to have the surgery, even though there were no guarantees. The surgery was difficult, and the recovery was long and painful. But with the support of Mark and Jake, I slowly started to regain my strength. I also began to rebuild my company, replacing those who had betrayed me and tightening the oversight. Mark and I grew closer over time. He never tried to be my rescuer, but supported my independence. One evening, he proposed, and I said yes. Our wedding was simple, but it was filled with hope and a new beginning. Looking back, I've learned that wealth doesn't protect you from betrayal, and silence can hide a lot of cruelty. But I've also learned that family is not defined by blood, and with courage and persistence, you can overcome even the toughest challenges.